Hi. So this morning we only focused on math. So I'm going to go over what we did for math. We started in our week 3 third grade math. First page. We went over the homework, was just these 3 problems, and we completed the rest of this page together. So I'm going to go over it if you need help, and I will go over one of the problems. So this homework was just rounding to the tens place. So we found 38 and we thought, okay, is 38 closer to 30 or 40? We wouldn't jump to 50 because that's a huge jump. We would never jump over one of our endpoints. So 38 rounds to 40. So 65, we found 65 on the number line. And yesterday we learned that 5 in the ones place, you always round up. And so there's a 5 in the ones place. So we are going to round up to 70. So we completed, if you want to pause, the first page. And then I set the timer for 10 minutes. And I had the students on their own work on page 2. And then we went over the answers. And then I had them, whatever they didn't finish is for homework. Then there is a blank. So just like yesterday, a blank number line. I gave them 3 blank number lines, pages. And now we're moving on to rounding to the hundreds place. So if you need to pause and fill this in, you need to write on the top rounding to hundreds place so we understand what this number line's for. And then we're writing, skip counting by tens. So 0 to 100, and then you start at 100, 100 to 200, and so on. So you can pause and fill that out. Next, we talked about when we're rounding to a hundreds place, your answer has to have a 0 in both the ones and the tens place. So of course, 0 we always will be one of our end numbers. And that's why we boxed 100 all the way up to 500, because there are zeros in both the ones and the tens, which means that these are our options for our answers when we're rounding to the hundreds place. Then we discussed how yesterday, this is our rounding to the tens. We discussed that our midpoint, our middle number, when there's a 5 in the ones place, we always round up. Well, now we're rounding to hundreds. So when we're rounding to the hundreds place, there's not a 5 in the ones. The 5 is now in the tens place. So when there's a 5 in the tens place, that's where we box blue. That's our midpoint. And then we also discussed if there's a 5 in the tens place, you automatically just round up. Just round up. Round up. Round up. Round up. When they finished writing their number line, we had them put it into their protective sheet because we were going to practice. So I'm going to just go quickly over some practice numbers. So I said, all right, plot 70 and round it to the nearest hundred. So you have to read the question. We're not rounding to tens because it's already rounded to the tens place. We're rounding to the hundreds. So our 2 end numbers are either 0 or 100. It's going to round to 100. That's what the number is closest to. Well, let's go to 120. Plot 120. Well, what is 120 round to the hundreds place? It's either going to be 100 or 200. What is it closer to? It's definitely closer to 100. Then we got more challenging. I said, okay, well, on here we're skip counting by tens. So there are zeros in the ones place on every single number. What if it gives you 226? You need to find what 2 numbers 226 is in between and plot it. Since there's a 2 in the tens, you need to find another number with a 2 in the tens. Oh, that's a 1 in the tens. Oh, there's a 2 in the tens. So it's going to be in between this number and 230, because 226 falls right around there. Now you think to yourself, does 226 round to 200 or 300? Are you going to jump a little jump, or are you going to do a huge jump? Well, you're going to do a little jump right there. Now, what if you have that 5 in the tens? You have 350. You're always rounding up, no matter what, so you're going to round up. What if it's 351? Oh, you are still in between these two. You still have a 5 in that tens place. So that leads you to think about the rule. So the rule for the tens, if we're rounding to the tens, is if there is a 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9 in the ones place, you round up. If there's a 4, a 3, a 2, or a 1 in the ones place, you round down. We're not looking at the ones place anymore. When you round to the hundreds, don't worry about that ones place. You look at that tens place. So when there is a 10, or when there is a 5, a 6, a 7, an 8, or 9 in the tens place, you just round up, okay? You round up. All right? When there is a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 4 in the tens place, you round down. Okay. So we'll do one more. So what is 475 round to? Well, there's the 7. So, oh, there's a 7. So it's going to be in between here. There's a 5 in the ones place, though. Guess what? Doesn't matter. We're not looking at the ones anymore. We're looking at the tens. Oh, and we said if there's a 7 in the tens, you automatically round up. Okay. Then we practice. So in your 3rd grade math, I'm going to skip the first, go to the second page. You need to write rounding to hundreds place on top, because we're rounding to hundreds, not the tens anymore. Pause whenever you need. So this is 230. We plotted 230. There's a lot more numbers now. Think about those yellow numbers on your number line. So we find the yellow numbers first. Oh, 200, because look, there's a 0 in the ones, a 0 in the tens. Then 300, there's a 0 in the ones and a 0 in the tens. So these are your options. You're going to round down to 200. Oh, and look, there's a 3 in the tens, which means, remember, if there's a 3 in the tens, you automatically round down. Ooh, 278, though. So there's a 7 in the tens, so let's see. No 7 in tens, no, 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 no. Yes, there's a 7. So the number is going to be in between 270, 280. Am I going, oh, and our yellow numbers are 200, 300. So I'm going to round up. $246. All right, there's a 4 in the tens, so I need to find a 4 in the tens. No, no, no. Yes, there's a 4, so it's going to be in between these two numbers. You plot it. Oh, but there's a 5 in the tens right here for 250. So that means this is our midpoint. So we know everything to the left, every number in between 200 and 250 are going to round down to 200. And the rest is for homework. All right, so that is what we discussed today. And I will post this right away. Thank you very much.